This is game 4 of a 5 games match, and I open with e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4, just like the other game. Bishop here, and the Evans Gambit is once again played, but this time my opponent is going to play a slightly different variation to before, and we have that position on the board now. As I explained before in previous videos, the aim of the Evans Gambit, which is the pawn to here, is to gain time with c3 in order to push d4 and have a solid control of the center. And so it's not, if you were to objectively assess the Evans Gambit, it's not quite worth a pawn to get this advantage in the center, but in practice it seems to work. Pawn takes, just castles. Here he played d6, which is a good move. If you play here, there's a potential bishop takes f7, king takes, queen here, queen here, picking up the bishop. So he plays d6, take. So it's an equal game. White has a little bit of play for the pawn it sacrificed, and black is on the verge of completing the development and castling. And of course, the more the game moves forward, the more significant the material advantage is going to be for black. Queen here, possibly not the great move, but it's very difficult to play what the computer plays, which is knight here, potentially dropping the pawn but getting some sort of play as a result. It's hard to just drop another pawn as white. So this is a standard continuation, which is usually played when this move is not possible. So, for example, when the bishop is on that square. He plays queen e7, and just to show the variation, what would happen if he plays queen a5, bishop takes f7, king f8, and you have nothing in this position. You can't hang on to your piece, because if you go here, you get hit by c6, and you got no way of defending the bishop anymore. So in this position, the best move is probably to take the on g8 and then take back, but you just don't have enough in this position. After this, potentially bishop g4. It's all cooked up, I'm afraid. So after the queen e7 move, we play bishop b2, bishop e6, and now I took on e6. I didn't like the line where a fork and then he goes to a5 and I check, and then bishop comes back. Bishop has to go there, and he can just go knight f6 now. I didn't like that line. So after bishop e6, bishop takes, pawn takes, and we have now d5. Check. He plays c6, and this time I take here. And of course he cannot recapture the pawn because of this. So knight f6, good move. I considered knight g5 here, but it just didn't work. I also considered bishop c3, which probably is better, but I couldn't see a proper continuation after queen c7. So for example, if bishop here, queen c7, the correct move in this position, and extremely hard to find is in fact e7. And only a computer engine can find moves like that. If king takes, then you've got the opening of the center, and it's turning into pear shape take. And now what do? If you take with the queen, you lose this one, and if you take with the king, this comes up. So that's illustrate well what happens to the king when he exposed. So after I played e5, I just didn't see all the consequences of playing bishop here, which would have been better. He takes, bishop takes, then the knight goes to here. Try to develop as much as I can. And here I'm creating a weakness for him. And now was the time to find a plan. What's the plan for white? And it's actually quite difficult to find a proper plan and a proper set of moves. In the game I played queen to g4. And it's not bad, but it's not that good either. A better alternative would have been to play the rook f2 e1, but that's a move that a computer can find. But that's not a move that a human will easily play, considering that the rook is already very active on this file, and this bishop is already onto f2. To make the move rook f2 e1 doesn't come naturally. But as it turned out, the idea was to have the bishop eventually withdraw in defense and play a move like that onto the weakness, and it's still an even game. And so if you played rook, knight back, bishop back, we're still hanging on to that pawn. I don't know how long for, and then we can play moves like that, perhaps, and start to attack the weakness here. So after knight c6, bishop went back to b2. I prefer to have it on g7 than withdraw it here in defense. After all, the reason why I played queen g4 here is to have pressure on g7. He plays d4, and here I took, and I mean, that was an oversight by me, because for some reason, analyzing quickly, I saw that that if you play this, like this, somehow I could play queen g7 check, king takes, check, discover check, and win the queen. But unfortunately, the queen just takes there. So that's an oversight in my calculations. But after queen here, it's actually quite a good move, which is e7, and he's got to play the rook up, which enables me to get out of the pin, the pin situation with the queen here, while threatening to queen with check. And so that sort of saves the day. He would take probably on e7, then just come back on b3 and defend everything. But that's easier said than done. So we get back to the game, and he actually played here. He played knight takes, Bishop takes. Now he can no longer come here because of the checkmate on g7. So he took everything, and that goes into a queen and rook endgame. So I try to activate my rooks. He's got 2 versus 1 on the queen side and 3 versus 2 on the king side for me. I just went here to ensure he cannot challenge at any stage on the e-file, and I still have to remain in the defense of this pawn. h6, giving his king a little bit of air. g3. So it's quite clear what's happening. He's trying to push on the queen side. I'm kind of stopping him while entertaining some nasty intentions on the other side. Rook here. It just basically make him play a good move, which you never want to do. But I just thought you can have the queen side, and I'll see what I can do on the king side. I've already got my pieces nicely set up, so, and never forgetting that chess is a struggle in practice. You know, it's so I'm not interested in the pawns. I want to cause problem on that side. So he pushes rook. He plays here, which is a good move. And here blunders. All he had to do is play, so obviously I'm threatening mate here, so all he had to do is check here and get back on f6. And unfortunately he didn't see it. He played rook f7 and just blundered the rook. That goes to show what I mean by the struggle in practice. It really is a struggle. So the game continued like this. It's worth noting that had the pawn been on the 6th rank, it's actually a compensation for a full rook. But fortunately, his pawns are too far. But it's generally accepted that 2 pass pawn on the 6th rank are worth a rook, of course, depending on the situation. Rook e8. He keeps pushing. Check. King comes here, then he gets a check here, so it's getting messy here. You know, if he can't come here, he's basically lost. He's got no hope. He should probably play queen f7. It'd be interesting to see what happened after queen f7. You'd have queen here, check. He has to block, and now you've got rook e6, and that's not very good for him. Anyway, after rook f7, you just have rook f6, rook e6 check, and that's basically game over. So the highlight of this game, actually, where I learned from, is the plan where the rook goes to e1. Very difficult to see, and we humans tend to not want to let go of things. And when you've got a rook in defense of a pawn that's attacked by a bishop and potentially by a rook, it's very hard to let go of that defense. And but we learn every day, don't we?